cause of this explosion in overeating is unclear. How much of it is to do with eating too much junk food? How much is a result of psychological problems? And how much can be blamed on our genes? Today on Fat Doctor, two families fighting obesity. Julie weighs 27 stone. Her sister has already had obesity surgery.
Through depression, I was out of control with it. I was eating anything, burgers, crisps, chocolates, anything, cakes. When I look in the mirror at myself, I just think, wow, how did I get here?
And brothers Andy and Paul Richardson are both waiting for gastric bypass operations.
Always been big, family's been big.
My diet at its worst was pizzas, Chinese takeaways, Indian takeaways, just terrible foods.
Expect graphic scenes of gastric surgery on Fat Doctor. Julie Fastuzzi is 41 years old. At 27 stone, she is super morbidly obese. She comes from a family who have wrestled most of their lives to keep their weight down. Today, Julie is out shopping with her mum Betty. She too has struggled with her own weight. And her other daughter Linda has already had obesity surgery. Now Julie is desperate for an operation too.
Well, at the moment, as I am now, I think it's just over 27 stone, which is the top weight I've ever been. And my BMI is definitely way over 45.
Do you want mince or do you want something else instead of that? Or what is mince?
I was out of control with it. I was eating anything, burgers, crisps, chocolates, anything, cakes. Everything that was bad for me, but I wasn't really thinking about what I was doing and what I was doing to my body as well. I've tried the grapefruit diet, I've tried low carb diet and all different diet pills. I've tried quite a lot, but none of them ever worked.
Yeah, I was doing the shopping with Mum, did it together, so yeah, it's okay.
Julie and her mum live together in Southampton. Betty does most of the cooking now for her daughter. But Julie's overeating has been going on for years.
It started back in my early 20s. I wasn't this big before, but it gradually built up over many years. Roughly when I was about 30, 32, I started to realise this is becoming a problem. When I look in the mirror at myself, I just think, wow, how did I get here? And how bad I look. It's terrible.
And it's not just her looks. Julie's obesity is now making it difficult for her to get around the house. What's more, her weight is putting severe strain on her joints.
It's definitely got more difficult recently, yeah, because my knees got a lot worse. So whenever I'm bending or anything, it's so painful. I'm not happy with the way I am at all now, at all. It's difficult to get up and down the stairs. I can't come down forward like normal people do. I have to come down backwards, hanging onto a rail.
But Julie's weight has now reached crisis point. She needs an operation on her knee to relieve the pain and make her more mobile. But before she can have surgery on her leg, she needs to lose 70% of her body weight.
Although the hospital have told me that if I don't have the knee operation, that I will be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life. So it's quite a serious situation.
Julie has 2 cleaning jobs, and she's just started delivering takeaways in the evening. But it's not easy when she's this size.
It's when I get in, my stomach catches on the top of the steering wheel. So then I have to push my stomach underneath the steering wheel so I can steer properly. My leg does hurt because it's on the gas pedal, you see. So I'm constantly moving it and using it to brake as well. So it's constantly left and right and up and down and movement all the time. And if I'm driving for a length of time, it does get quite painful. It is very important for me to have my cars because I need it. I do need it to get to and from work. I've been doing it for 2 weeks now, the delivery job. It's driving for a takeaway. I quite enjoy it. I'm a people person, so I like talking with them at the door and yeah, I quite enjoy that.
To lose a massive 15 stone or more, Julie has turned to this man in the hope of getting obesity surgery. Shaw Summers performs over 200 obesity operations every year, and he has never been busier.
Julie's in a very difficult situation. She weighs 27.5 stone, and given her height, she has a body mass index of over 70, and that's a really severely overweight person, and that has significant healthcare risks for the long term. Her only option is surgery. That's the only thing that's going to help her shift enough weight to make a difference.
Back in Southampton, Julie and her mum are visited by Julie's sister Linda. She's lost 2 stone since her obesity operation 2 months ago.
That one there. That's the sore one. Quite pink, that one. Pinky, isn't it? I ain't showing the other one because it's right up here in my bra line. I'm losing this and this is going. So yeah, everybody says my face is gone.
Her stomach's going. She says that mine is round, but yours, Mum, it goes to a point.
Julie has seen the way gastric bypass surgery has changed her sister's life.
I've seen her struggle through the years, and when I saw her about a month after her operation, and she looked so much better, really well, and I thought, oh wow, it's really making her better. She's a lot happier, a lot smiling, you know, but yeah, she's definitely come through really well. Patting her on the head.
And the operation has improved her sister's health in other ways too.
Yeah, and your diabetes has got better, isn't it?
Yes,
Gastric surgery.
Yeah, well they say that once you've had the gastric bypass, your diabetes, they say it goes, but I have had to take a couple of tablets because my level has gone over a certain number, so I've had to take a tablet, but not all the time anymore, so.
The success of her sister's operation encouraged Julie to investigate obesity surgery herself.
I made my decision to do it definitely after my sister did. But then I started looking on the internet and doing a bit more investigation about it all.
It's getting too loose where I've lost so much weight. I have to get a new wedding ring next year.
So I thought, okay, let's go for it. Let's go for it and see what happens. Well, I was pretty nervous about doing it until I spoke to you, didn't I?
Yeah, but I was really nervous as well when I spoke.
Yeah.
Because I'm frightened of being put out.
It's because it's quite a big operation.
Well, yeah.
It really reassured me, actually, to see how she was getting on. I know reading some of it is quite scary, really, but there's risk with all operations. But these operations, they do change your life for the better. Yeah, that's something I'm
Despite her anxiety, Julie hopes her surgery will be at least as successful as her sister's.
Getting that plain suit with ease.
There are fat families, and these are families where they're either heavily built and they're genetically predisposed to putting on weight for standard amounts of food. However, intertwined with that are families that aren't necessarily genetically predisposed, but their behaviour around food is not normal. They snack a lot, have big meals, perhaps make the wrong food choices, and it's down to education about diet and eating, and also an acceptance that food is not simply there to be eaten. It is fuel for the body and has to be used appropriately.
Andy and Paul Richardson are brothers on the way to see their local football team. It's a day Andy never thought would come. Weighing more than 40 stone, he underwent obesity surgery at a time when getting through the turnstiles at his local football club was a distant dream.
I started off at 42.5 stone. I was extremely unable to walk, breathe, move. And I'm at 18 months further down the line now, and I've lost 23.5 stone. I now weigh 19 stone.
Since his operation, his weight has halved. This is how Andy used to look, with a BMI of 89. But his obesity journey has been a long and difficult one. It began more than 2 years ago when he got NHS funding for obesity surgery. But with medical complications, he was too big to have an operation safely. Andy needed to lose weight even before he could have weight loss surgery.
Fed up with being fat and being unable to do anything. I'm here today to change my life. Properly. Good. It's going to happen.
An operation now would put too much strain on his heart and lungs. Another way had to be found for him to shed up to 5 stone before he went under the knife.
Where was the coolest, brother?
Good sheep's still there.
Probably kicking out of bed backwards. Done frontward rolls, I've never done a backwards roll.
Surgeons are going to insert a balloon into his stomach and inflate it. It will reduce his capacity to overeat and help him reduce his weight sufficiently to make it safe for him to have surgery. Hamish Duncan is part of Shaw Summers' team.
He's been deemed to be too high risk to undergo surgery by the anaesthetists and the surgeons, so his risk of dying from going straight to surgery would be too high. And if we can get his weight down, it just makes the whole surgical procedure, much safer for Andrew, and his chance of surviving much greater.
Andy is understandably anxious about the procedure and worried he won't be able to swallow the balloon. Dr. Duncan begins by spraying Andy's throat with local anaesthetic. A strap is then fitted around Andy's head with a plastic device to help keep his mouth open. A camera is then passed down Andy's throat to examine his stomach.
Okay, camera's going over your tongue now, a little bit uncomfortable. The camera's down now, just take some nice, deep, slow breaths. I'm going to blow in some air so I can see where I'm going. Now, you've actually got quite a long stomach. Normally I put 500 mils of fluid in a balloon. I actually think you'd do better with a bigger balloon. There's a slightly greater risk of you vomiting more. I think you'd do with a 700 ml balloon. Okay.
Do you mind your life, is it?
Hopefully, yes. Well, it's the start, because you'll need surgery after this. Try to see it before it goes in. Big one. That's it. All right. Just imagine you're gulping down some food. Okay.
Andy now has to swallow the deflated balloon.
Back your throat now. Big swallow for me now. If you want to watch on the screen, you can see the balloon in there. You see the little white? That's the balloon. And then we'll just start filling it up in a moment.
Once in the right position, the balloon is inflated with a blue saline solution.
Colours water. And we do that just in case the balloon leaks. And then Mr. Richardson will be able to tell us if the balloon's leaked, because it'll start passing blue stools. That's the balloon sitting nicely at the bottom of the stomach. One final look at it? No, we've had enough. Okay, just take it out for you.
The balloon will stay in Andy's stomach for 6 months. By then, he should have lost sufficient weight to have a full gastric bypass operation.
Absolute star. Well done.
Yeah, they're fine, absolutely.
Well done. Very good. I'll come and see you later. Andrew's a very good patient, actually. Some patients do get quite a lot for this procedure, but he was perfect. But he understood that this was an opportunity to help save his life, and he just needed to get on with it.
4 days after Andy's balloon is fitted, he's at home and getting used to a restricted diet.
Getting on quite well with the balloon. It's sort of here at the moment. It's ever so tender still under the ribs and into the top part of the lower part of the chest cage. Yeah, super big.
Andy is being looked after by his brother Paul. He too desperately needs obesity surgery. Paul has already noticed big changes in his brother Andy.
Poor. Smells good.
Here you go, mate. He's not interested in food, and he's looking forward to the yoghurt and the bowl of tomato soup, and that's not the Andy that I used to know.
My diet at its worst was pizzas, Chinese takeaways, Indian takeaways, just terrible foods, all fatty foods, bacon sandwiches, bacon and egg sandwiches, daily trips to burger vans. Food always used to make me feel comforted. I always felt guilty afterwards. Some nights I used to cry myself to sleep because I knew I shouldn't be doing it, but I couldn't do anything about it.
Are you feeling full up then?
Yeah.
But while Andy seems to be making progress, his brother has to wait to find out if he will also get an operation.
Yeah.
I want to get my brother sorted first, and then I'm going to try and sort myself out. Get him on the road to recovery. And then it's my turn. And we will win.
Between them, the brothers weigh almost half a ton. And together, they are now in a battle to beat their obesity.
Boy's been big, family's been big, and I had a nasty turn a few years ago and I had leukemia and spent 11 and a half months in total isolation. And when I come out, I'd blown up in size and lost all my energy. And then after that I had 2 heart attacks, and slowly piled the weight on, and it's very hard now to turn it around and lose it. But now with Andy and his balloon inside, I think we've got a chance to back that out between us.
One of the common questions we often get asked is obesity due to genetics? Well, there is some genetic overplay, of course. We all have different shapes and sizes and coloured hair and what have you. But genetics doesn't explain this huge increase in the level of obesity that we've got. That's not genetics. Genetics takes thousands and thousands of years to show its hand. Obesity's doubled in 30 years. That's not genetics, that's the environment that we live in.
Obesity may run in Julie's family, but what triggered the overeating for Julie herself was a series of tragedies in her life.
Everybody perceives that everyone's supposed to be thin and pretty and all of this, but they don't see reality. They don't see the person underneath or that person's problems, what have got them to that situation.
Julie has 2 failed marriages, and she lost 2 children when they were just babies. She visits them here at Hollybrook Cemetery in Southampton. "21 years ago, her daughter Annie died, aged 1, and 5 years ago, her son Nathan died the day he was born.
With Annie, I had a year of photographs and smiling, but Nathan didn't have that chance, bless him. But he's still with me. He's always on my mind, always in my thoughts, every day, same as Annie is.
Her visits to the cemetery bring up mixed emotions.
Happy and sad, really. Sad because I miss them so much. I love them so much. And I just want to hold them in my arms again. But, happy because I know they're not in pain anymore. And I'll be with them one day anyway, so... Sorry.
Her depression led to comfort eating, then to an addiction to food.
At the time, I was so depressed, I wasn't really thinking about what I was doing. And what I was doing to my body as well. I would say that food was the only friend I had at the time. Which wasn't a very good friend, obviously. But, yeah, through depression, I was out of control with it. I was eating anything, everything that was bad for me. Most of the time, after I'd done that, I felt really even more depressed. And angry with myself, really. Angry, depressed, ill, because it had made me feel sick all the time. And really angry, mainly angry with myself, and ashamed. And then I'd try to do something about it, and then something else would happen. So it was a spiral, really, downward spiral.
No one knows better than Shaw Summers the reason why people become addicted to food.
Julie's a fairly typical patient for our unit. She's a large lady who's learnt to eat as a response to her psychological torment from all the traumas that she's gone through in her life. But she's also from a very big family. Her sister's recently undergone surgery. So there is a genetic or familial element to her size, but it's also a response to her behaviour subsequent to the psychological torment that she's suffered.
Over the years, the result of Julie's psychological distress has been overeating and a BMI of 70. But now she has something to live for. 3 years ago, she went to Africa, fell in love, and married a Tanzanian.
Hi, baby.
She speaks to her husband every day on the phone.
Hi, baby. Yeah, Mama Betty's okay. Yeah, Mama Betty's fine. Come on.
Betty went out to Tanzania for their wedding in 2009.
They're like 2 peas in a pod. They're both as stuffed as each. He makes her laugh and happy, and she does the same for him.
It was an unexpected holiday romance for Julie.
So I was walking along the beach one day and I met this guy who was really sweet, and we got talking and we fell in love and we're now married. He's very supportive of my situation. But as anything, visas are a problem. So he's still in Africa at the moment. I had to leave him behind, which was very painful.
2 hearts, 1 soul, baby.
Her daily talks to her husband Katja give Julie a lift. But what she looks forward to most is news that her surgery is definitely going ahead. Andy Richardson's surgery is now fixed. It's just 3 months away. But brother Paul still worries about his progress.
From getting up in the morning, he can't get up himself. He has carers come in, help him get dressed, washed, clean. From me having to come in and do his cooking, I take him driving, I have to take him to the doctors. He can't get about on his own, can't walk very far. So most things have been affected by his weight. It does break my heart seeing him the way he is.
Paul takes Andy out every day, but they choose isolated spots, away from the public eye.
Being big is difficult. It's not like you can just get up and go swimming because people always look and stare, and you can't go to a football match because the seats aren't big enough for you to get in and sit down. So you tend to just sit at home all the time. Yeah, I'd like to be accepted wherever I go without anyone pointing a finger or sniggering or laughing. I've even fallen over in the town centre and looked round and people have been stood laughing and no one's come to help or anything. And I've had to crawl to the side to pick myself up. You know, silly things like that. And I'm sure if I was a small person, everyone would have rushed towards me and helped. So you get depressed a lot about it. Sick.
Makes you feel sick. And that's what stops you end up stopping going out then, don't you? You think, well, if I don't go out, then you haven't got to face all the realities of what's going on in the outside world.
Then you get stuck in a catch situation where you don't do the exercise, you eat from home and you get bored and you put more weight on. It just becomes a vicious circle. You become victimised, I suppose, in a way, for being big.
Just people in general, they think it's our own fault for being the size we are. And it's not always the case.
It's an exciting day for Julie. She has just received a letter from St Richard's Hospital.
Well, this is the letter that your Summers sent me. And it's confirming that he'd like to admit me to St Richard's Hospital. One step closer to a better life, to be honest. No, it's in a good way. Definitely.
It's the news Julie has been waiting for.
Oh, to have this operation means everything. And mainly for my husband to be proud and say, this is my wife, this is how she is now. He's very proud of me now, but I'd like him to be even more proud.
This is a critical day for Andy Richardson.
Up on the scales.
I'll take my shoes off first, like I always do.
He will find out if having the balloon in his stomach has enabled him to lose sufficient weight to have obesity surgery.
Okay, I'll just give the results to Dr. Duncan.
Brother Paul is waiting anxiously.
He's really frightened today with getting on the scales. He didn't sleep very well last night and he's been panicking. But I hope he's done really well today.
Andrew Richardson, please. Oh, yeah? Right. Up, Andrew, come on in. How's it been for you?
It's been very good. It's been completely different because I've had to totally change my diet and my drinking. I don't drink fizzy drinks, so I'm not getting as gassy as I used to or feeling bloated as I used to. My walking's a lot better. My breathing's a lot better. Just altogether feel a different person already.
When you first came, before we put the balloon in, you weighed 40 stone and 8 pounds, and today you've just been weighed and you weigh 34 stone, 7 pounds. So you've lost 6 stone, 1 pound in just over 3 months.
Brilliant.
Which is excellent, well done.
Lovely, real chuffed.
I think the key factor is you've been motivated to lose the weight because you realise that this is a life-saving opportunity for you.
Last chance, isn't it?
It is.
Andy now needs to lose another 2 stone before it's safe to undergo gastric bypass surgery. But at last, he feels he is finally on the path to good health.
It's given me a lot more optimism now. I've lost this bit of weight, and Dr. Hamish Duncan's told me that I'm well within the weight limit now to be able to have the surgery, the main surgery done. So I'm really pleased with that now. So it just spurs me on a little bit more to lose some more weight, which is what I need.
Julie's big day has arrived. She's going to be one of 200 people Shaw Summers will operate on this year.
Nice to see you. It's your day for surgery today.
Yeah.
We've got a number of medical things to sort out with you, not the least of which being the joints and the apron that's causing you trouble. But the first stage in all of that is to help the weight come down.
Yeah.
Can I get you to read through the consent form, sign along there and date it for me? OK, I'll ask one of my colleagues to walk you down to theatre. And then I shall go and get changed back into my pyjamas.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
I'll see you soon and I'll look
Thank
after you.
you.
OK.
Thank you. Thanks. First day of a new life.
As you can see, Julie's now asleep, and you can immediately see the scale of the problem that Julie faces on a day-to-day basis. She's very heavy, she's got big legs, which obviously puts a lot of strain on her knees. The main issue with her tummy is that she's got this enormous apron, which pulls her off balance all the time, and again adds more strain to the knees and gives her much more problems when it comes to mobilising. My job today is to operate on this little part of her tummy, deep inside where her stomach and her intestines live, to try and fashion a gastric bypass and to help her with her weight. But even once her weight's gone down, she'll still have this extra skin to deal with at a later date. What will happen is as her weight comes down, her knees will be very much better and will be able to tolerate mobilising with her weight a lot more easily.
Shaw is convinced that without surgery, Julie's outlook is bleak.
Julie's a very interesting case. She's a typical lady with supermorbid obesity. Her body mass index is 70, she weighs 180 kilos, and for her height, which is just over 1.5 metres, about 5 foot, it's an incredible amount of strain for her joints and for her body to tolerate. And if we left her as she is, she wouldn't make an old lady. Her body just won't cope with it. So for her, this is not just life-changing, it's life-saving surgery. The gastric bypass that I'm going to do for Julie is a standard operation, but I will tailor-make it so that it works specifically for Julie's needs, for her eating requirements, and for the fact that we've got to get her to lose quite a lot of weight in order for this to really make a difference for her. I need to safely enter her tummy without actually damaging any internal organs, and I use this special instrument which helps cut through her tummy very gently whilst I watch where we're going. So I'll put the TV camera through this gun, and then you can see the light at the end, and then if I make a cut to where I think everything's going to be, so I'm just feeling her rib cage, that's there, and I think I'm going to need to go about there. Now the only thing about Julie's tummy is because she's got this enormous apron, it tends to sort of list to one side or other, and I can't use the tummy button as a guide like I would normally. I have to go with where the bony landmarks are. So let's try there. Thank you. So I now use my special instrument to go down into the layers of her tummy. That's it. I'm inside the tummy without having damaged or cut any blood vessels. Right, can I have a dip, thanks? I need to be a bit of a photographer and cameraman for this because we're using video technology for all of this. There we go. And just a seascape of fat. There's the liver, looking good. She's just tightening up a bit, Mark, although you're probably aware of that. And there's her stomach just poking under the liver there.
Once inside Julie's abdominal cavity, Shaw needs to bypass a metre of small intestine. But first he has to find it.
Through this little window, I've got to find the very origin of the small intestine. It'll be up here somewhere. Oh, there you go. That was a lucky strike. I found it. That's the origin of the small intestine. I can tell because there's a tightness there and it won't come up anymore. Now, I've got to use a special stapler to cut the intestine. That allows me to then make the bypass work. Okay, so this stapler's got lots of rows of staples you can see on the cartridge there, and that will safely divide the bowel and stop any bleeding from the edges. As I open it, you'll see the edges come apart like that. Thank you, Vicryl. Polysorb, thank you. Okay, so I've now got 3 bits of intestine here. This is what is going to carry the food from the pouch. This is what we call the common channel, where it takes the food and digestive juices to the colon, and this is the bit of intestine that we've bypassed. So I've now got to join number 3 and number 2 together. It'd be great if all these parts came numbered, then teaching this operation to other surgeons would be easier. And there you see the 2 bits of intestine are joined together now. All I've got to do is close up that hole. Peatland, thanks. It's a good thing I did sewing in arts and crafts at school, isn't it?
Once the bypass of the intestine is complete, Shaw needs to staple the stomach to reduce it to the size of an egg.
So this is why we need the foot plate, so that Julie can actually, even though she's asleep, she's standing up on the bed, and it enables me to get right up underneath her liver to where I need to operate. Can I have it, please?
First, he needs to move Julie's liver out of the way using a metal hook.
It's often the most difficult bit of the case, getting this in. Okay. Using that curved bit of metal, I can lift the liver out of the way so I can do the rest of the uphold up there. That's the top of the stomach, and Dr. Bentley's now going to slide his tube down her esophagus. There it comes, yeah. That's it, that's the tube. So what I've now got to do is to divide the stomach. I'm tunnelling around the back of the stomach now just to find a channel to put my stapler. There we go, there's my tunnel around the back. So Julie's stomach starts there, so I'm literally going to come a very short way down and going to leave her with a pouch about the size of an egg. So she's not going to have very much stomach at all. If you look at the size of that distance there, it looks like a big distance. But if I bring the thing out and open that, you can see that's not a very big distance at all. So she's going to have a pouch about the size of an egg by the time I've finished. So that's going to make the first cut. No going back now. Okay, that's it. Her stomach is now in 2 halves. Oh, so this is the bit that won't see food anymore, and this is the little pouch about the size of an egg. And that's what I'm going to use to join to the bypass that I made earlier. Julie's life will no longer revolve around her battle with food, and I hope both psychologically and physically she'll gain the benefit of losing weight, being more mobile, and not worrying about dieting all the time. And I think a lot of people in Julie's position struggle with life as much psychologically, because food is both her downfall and her dependency. She's absolutely dependent on eating for comfort, and yet it's killing her, and she can't escape this. And that's what a lot of these super obese patients face, is this inability to deal with what is a dependence on food. Okay, push in a little bit, calm, that's it, that's fine. Okay, so the last thing I've got to do is now join the pouch to the intestine. That's the join all done, so we're finished with Julie. It's all gone really well. And then this is the bypass. Likewise, sitting there, sweetly doing its thing. Lovely, done. Okay, table down if you would. The nice thing about keyhole surgery is I can just now take these ports out and sew up the little skin wounds, and there's nothing else to sew up, so it's actually very much more comfortable for Julie. internal muscle cuts come together really easily. So what I've done is completed a gastric bypass operation for Julie. I've made her a stomach about the size of an egg, and I've brought up some intestine to meet that stomach so that the food goes down a different way, and hopefully it'll help her control her eating and help her lose a whole load of weight.
Julie is wheeled off to the recovery room, the future looking brighter than ever before. It's now 18 months since Andy Richardson had his gastric bypass operation. Today he's supporting his local football team in Windsor. With him is brother Paul. He too finally got approval for his gastric bypass surgery, but he is still unwell and recently suffered a stroke. Andy is a shadow of his former self. Once weighing over 40 stone, he's now just half that weight.
After I had my gastric balloon fitted, I waited about 5 or 6 months and then had the gastric bypass. 6 weeks after that, my brother Paul, he also had a bypass, and he was 32 stone, and he's now lost 16 stone. And I mean, he's half the man he used to be and looks brilliant. He's still a very poorly man, but you wouldn't think he was the same person. He looks completely different.
But how has Andy adjusted to life with a new, smaller stomach?
I have had problems with 1 or 2 of the foods. There are certain foods now I cannot even touch, which before I wouldn't have thought twice about shoveling into my mouth. I still struggle with egg, milk, anything with sugar or fatty products. I still really struggle with, and I don't really touch hardly any meat at all now. Probably part of it is through choice or just plain simply scared of going down that route again. But no, I'm fine with most foods, as long as I just watch the portion control now. By the time I was the age of 16, I was probably nearly 23, 24 stone. So I'm lighter now than when I was 16 years old, so quite an achievement for me, really.
Andy now sees a new life opening up for him.
Football's a great passion of mine. I'm going to try and get out as much as I can now. Not sure whether Paul will be able to come, but I'm going to get out as much as I can and enjoy it now. It's been a great experience being able to come through the turnstiles today. First time in years. Buzzing, really. Just really being able to sit on these chairs and not be squashed up next to anyone, and have the freedom to move my legs a little bit as well. Yeah, it's a great feeling.
And Andy and Paul have been an inspiration to their fellow supporters.
They were bigger than me even. 42 stone is, I can't imagine me being 42 stone even. Another 12 stone on top of this, I don't think I would cope with it. But so what they've done has been absolutely amazing and inspiring as well. And they've actually, allayed a lot of the fears I had, and it's something that I will now definitely look into.
But there has been a downside to the surgery.
I'm very happy with how much weight I've lost, but it's come to an end now where I'm not happy with how I look. More so now than what I did probably before I had my bypass, because it's so much loose skin.
I've got such a pubic flap now. The fold just prevents me from urinating properly, and I have to lift it and whatever you do. And when I sit in the car, the insides of my legs fold under, and it's so uncomfortable. And even when I lie down, I get this fold around the back because where it's so loose. So it's just a nightmare, really.
Andy is left with the scars of his former fatter self. So does he have any regrets?
My life now is, it's 100 times better than what it used to be. I am happier, I'm out meeting people. I know now that if I hadn't had my bypass, I would definitely be dead by now. It took for one of the surgeons to tell me that I only had 6 months to live. And that scared the hell out of me. And I honestly haven't looked back since. I've stuck religiously to the diet and the journey plan, which was given to me for the bypass. And I can honestly say that I took the right choice.
Back in Southampton, it's now 4 months since Julie Fastuzzi had her gastric bypass operation, and already she is noticing the difference.
Believe it or not, this is where I had it before, which was right back here. And my belly, I had to push my belly under the steering wheel, but now I can actually get my hand under there, and it's great, so much. It's amazing. I'm really pleased, yeah.
Today is a milestone. Julie is on her way to the local swimming pool for her first swim in 7 years.
Because I must admit, I do love swimming. I'm really looking forward to it.
Before the operation, she would never have been brave enough to be seen in public in her swimsuit.
I was just over 27 stone. And now I've lost about 5 stone now. I'm losing more every day because I can feel it myself, which is great. Really pleased. Yeah, my clothes are definitely much looser, so I need to buy a whole new wardrobe, I think.
Just a few months ago, it looked like Julie's fate was sealed.
There was no way I was going to accept being in a wheelchair for the rest of my life. No way. I'm more stubborn than that.
But how has life been for Julie with a stapled stomach?
Actually, the food side of it has changed dramatically, but in a good way. I thought it would bother me, what I used to eat, you know, not being able to eat anymore, but it doesn't at all. It's not a problem at all. It doesn't affect me at all either. I don't feel hungry. And I managed the portions fine. Yeah, really good. Got used to it all now.
Julie's husband Kacha is still in Tanzania. They'll be seeing each other again soon. He will also have to get used to the new Julie.
When he sees me, he'd be, wow, you know. The first words will be Kubra eyes, big eyes, in Swahili, so he's definitely my soulmate.
Life just gets better and better for Julie. She's even found a new career for herself.
I'm a full-time carer now for 3 learning disability elderly ladies. Very sweet, and I love the job. It's amazing. I've definitely found my vocation. Oh, I feel really amazing, to be quite honest. It's a big life change. I've definitely got lots and lots of confidence. Oozing confidence now, definitely.
Julie knows there is still a long way to go. In the next year, she hopes to lose another 8 stone. And she'll also need further surgery to remove the excess skin on her abdomen and to replace her damaged knee.
I am really excited about the future, to be honest, yeah. At the end of all of it, I'll be completely reformed like a little bionic woman. We will rebuild her. In a year's time, when I've lost it all, that's when I'll be 100% happy. Definitely got my life back now, yeah. Well, hopefully a nice, bright future with my husband in Africa, so... yeah, it's all good.
But for now, Julie is enjoying her swim. Unthinkable just a few months ago.
I must admit, yeah, I'm really, really chuffed. I really enjoyed that, actually. I didn't want to stop. Yeah. So I'm definitely going to start coming back now.